Blog Talk Radio.
Hi everyone and welcome to Franchise Interviews. My name is Dr. Marty McDermott and I'm the president of Franchise Interviews. You know, over the last 8 years, Franchise Interviews weekly radio show has interviewed some amazing leaders in the world of franchising. And this October, Franchise Interviews is featuring Great Women Leaders in Franchising Month. Today you're going to get to hear our interview with Hala Moddelmog, and that's coming right up on Franchise Interviews. So stick around because we got a great show.
Franchise Interviews. For over 6 years, Franchise Interviews has been giving an up-close, behind-the-scenes look at franchising and entrepreneurship through our website, Franchiseinterviews.com, where you can hear and read interviews as well as get tips from some of the most successful sources in franchising. Our weekly franchise radio show, where each week you get to hear a new interview with franchisers, franchisees, franchise authors, franchise experts, and attorneys. And don't forget to listen to our podcast, Great Quotes in Franchising. For more information, go to Franchiseinterviews.com or call us at 610-905-2919. That's 610-905-2919.
Hi everyone and welcome back to Franchise Interviews. My name is Dr. Marty McDermott and I'm a marketing professor for Kaplan University and the president of Franchise Interviews. You know, over the last 8 years, Franchise Interviews weekly radio show has interviewed some amazing leaders in the world of franchising. And this October, Franchise Interviews is featuring Great Women Leaders in Franchising Month. Today you're going to get to hear our interview with Hala Moddelmog, and here's a little Franchise Interviews trivia. This was one of our highest listened to interviews in over 400 shows in 8 years of doing the show. And when we interviewed Hala, she was the president of the Arby's franchise system. And Arby's has approximately 3,500 units and annual system-wide sales of approximately $3 billion. Under Hala's leadership, Arby's had 12 repeated quarters of comparable store sales increases. And her team also created new brand positioning. They launched new product platforms and new advertising campaigns, and also redesigned the famous Arby's logo. Hala was recently interviewed on the topic of leadership, and she mentioned how important it is for a company to have a true mission and a true purpose. In 2006, she was chosen as president and CEO of the Susan G. Komen for the Cure, which is the world's biggest grassroots organization working to eliminate breast cancer through teaching, knowledge, public policy, and science throughout the globe. Hala was also the first woman to lead an international restaurant company when in 1995 she was named president of Church's Chicken. And let's go right into our interview with Hala Moddelmog.
Such a privilege to have you on the show. We always like to ask our guests where you're calling from today, Hala.
I am calling from Atlanta, Georgia, which is the home base for the Arby system, and I'm always thrilled when I hear that people, and especially their whole families, love Arby's, because that's what we like to hear. You know, we've been around for close to 50 years, and we have a lot of fans out there like you.
It's amazing, Hala. I'm not sure if everyone knows that Arby's has been around for over 50 years, and you know that's a pretty big milestone in franchising, isn't it?
Well, it really is, and I guess we're not quite to 50 years. We were in 1964. And it is a milestone, though, and it's been a brand that is, without a doubt, an iconic brand in America. And our hat logo, you may be interested to know, I just think it's a fun fact, that it is the second most recognized logo in America after McDonald's and Coca-Cola. So it's pretty amazing.
That's incredible, isn't it? I teach for Kaplan University, and we talk a lot about brand recognition and all those sorts of topics. And I think it was like almost like 90%, wasn't it, or 95%?
I think it's more like 96%. It's pretty amazing that people in America can recognize the logo, the hat logo, without the word Arby's in there. It just has that much recognition. And if you teach branding in college, you know how important that is.
Oh, absolutely, most definitely. Your background is amazing. It would be hard to talk about, your background and experience in 2 minutes, but maybe you could talk a little bit about, your background, what you were doing before your role as president of Arby's, Hala.
Well, I'll try to make this quick. My first job out of graduate school was with Arby's back in 1981, and this is my third time at Arby's. But in between that time and becoming president of Arby's, I spent about 12 years with Church's Chicken and was president there for about 10 years. And then I took a stint for a little over 3 years in the nonprofit world and was very proudly the president and CEO of Susan G. Komen for the Cure, which is the breast cancer foundation working to eradicate breast cancer.
And you've done some amazing things with that organization. You wouldn't know this. I'm the faculty advisor for the Kaplan University Collegiate Entrepreneurs, and we've referenced your videos on YouTube, Transformational Leadership. You have a video on running a successful nonprofit. So our students have actually used that video. So you've done some amazing things with that organization. Congratulations on that, by the way.
Well, thank you very much. It's an important cause.
It sure is, absolutely. Arby's has an amazing history, Hala. Maybe you could talk a little bit about, what's happened over the 5 decades that you've been in business.
Well, did you say 2 minutes? Because 5 decades, I'm teasing you.
That's true, right?
I think I'd rather, right now, frankly, talk about the last couple of years because...
Sure, that's fine, absolutely.
The good news for our brand is we're on our 9th consecutive quarter of comp sales increases, and we're very excited about that. We have some incredible new products, the hot turkey roasters. The roast beef is our core, and one of the things that, believe it or not, about 50% of our customers don't really know is that we slice every sandwich freshly for you. It's freshly prepared right there for you. We roast in the oven, and we slice it right there for you. So roast beef is our core. We've been doing that, as we said, for almost 50 years. But recently we've really put a focus on turkey because we also slice our turkey freshly in the restaurant every day, and we have the ability to serve a hot turkey sandwich. And so we've had great success. One of the products that people love is our Grand Turkey Club, and it's served with thinly sliced warm turkey. And then we also have our cool turkey sandwiches that have been featured on our Market Fresh for many years. So we're doing a lot of new things menu-wise, and one that I just cannot help mentioning because it is so delicious is our molten lava cake. And it is chocolate, chocolate, chocolate. And when you walk into the restaurant, sometimes you can smell them baking, and you've just got to have one.
These shows are tough for me. I always made sure I ate breakfast this morning because it's very painful. I told my wife we're going to have to go to Arby's today, so it's something. You're also, Arby's is testing a new restaurant design layout in select markets, Hala. What does Arby's hope to achieve with the new look and feel?
Well, we certainly are, and one of the things, quite frankly, that we're hoping to achieve is a sort of a modern and fresh look. As we've talked about, Arby's has been around for a long time. We have some, beautiful buildings out there. We have some that, frankly, need to be refreshed and remodeled. So we've come out with something called the Tower Design, and it's really a beautiful building. And we're gonna remodel 2 full company markets this year, and then get the results out for our franchisees to remodel. And the building, we have 3 complete right now, and we've all been to visit them. They look tremendous. The sales increases are fabulous. And they do 2 things. Or 3 things, really. They give us a more modern look. They raise our visibility from the outside, and they have a lot of freshness cues on the inside because we want to remind people that we do our slicing, every day in the restaurant, and we want to remind people that our vegetables they don't come out of a bag like some of our competitors.
Right.
We are slicing our lettuce in the bag and slicing our tomatoes, and we have all these beautiful, colorful freshness cues going on in our new remodel as well.
That's fantastic. One of the lessons we've been doing this show 6 years now, Hala, and one of the lessons we kind of emphasize to our listeners is to look towards the leadership. And Arby's recently made several changes to its leadership team. Maybe you could talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, when we were bought by Rourke Capital, which is a great private equity owner of many, many brands, I think they own at least 26 brands, and a lot of those are in food. So we were thrilled to be purchased by Rourke because they really focus on brand building. So when they bought us in July 2011, we wanted to put the investment in really having the right team. So we have brought on 2 industry veterans who are known and have done phenomenal jobs for us, one being George Condos is our COO. George came out of the Dunkin' brands, the Dunkin' Donut brands, and also Russ Klein as our Chief Marketing Officer, and he came out of Burger King and was there during their most successful run in the last few years. The other thing that we got in the bargain is that we were able to get John Luther as the chair of our board, and John is, as he says, I think he says he's been in this business for about 45 years, and he, is the chair also of Dunkin' Brands and has just had a lot of experience. So we feel very fortunate that John is on our team as well. So we, with the help of a couple of key guys at Rourke and our new team, we feel very good with our leadership team.
That's fantastic, and it's so important, isn't it? When someone's considering buying a franchise, as we always emphasize, to look towards the leadership and who's running the organization. In order to overcome obstacles to growth, Hala, particularly the ongoing credit crunch, restaurant executives are focusing their efforts on attracting multi-unit and multi-brand operators with strong cash flow to not only open new units but purchase established corporate stores to help revitalize and remodel stagnant locations. Has Arby's been a part of this refranchising trend, so you can say?
Yeah, we absolutely have, and I am thrilled to report that our first 2 refranchising acts were with not only 2 well-known players in the franchise game, but they are certainly, to your point, they're multi-brand and multi-unit franchisees. And not only when we have had them purchase our markets, and I'll tell you a little bit more about them, but in both cases they have purchased our markets, they have signed up to build more restaurants, and importantly, they have signed up to remodel our restaurants in those markets. The first one was to Guillermo Perales out of Dallas. And Guillermo, as a matter of fact, he's here with us today. He has 390 franchise restaurants. So he's got Popeyes, Golden Corral, Burger King, and CC's. So he is very, very well-grounded, and he knows how to get remodels done, and he knows how to run the business. So we are thrilled to have him. And then our second big refranchising was to Tony Lutfi. And Tony, I've known Tony since 1981, and he bought Seattle, Washington, and Portland, Oregon. He also is a multi-brand franchisee. He's got 78 franchise restaurants. Again, Arby's, Jack in the Box, Church's Chicken, Sizzler, Little Caesars, and then he also owns 14 Sears home appliance showrooms. So these people that we're bringing into our system are not only well capitalized, they really understand being a franchisee of multiple brands, and frankly, both of them have served in leadership positions for the franchisees in the other brands that they own. So we feel very fortunate.
Wow. Our listeners, we call them aspiring franchipreneurs, Hala. They kind of have it in their mind that they know they want to buy a franchise. What does Arby's look for in your prospective franchisees, and who would be your ideal candidate, so you can say?
Well, I love your phrase, by the way, Frenchpreneurs. I think that's great. I'm going to steal that. But
fine.
Our ideal candidate, just to be frank, is someone like Guillermo and Tony, because we know they have the experience and can get the capital. However, that being said, we are interested in helping people fulfill the American dream. Capital is not as easy to get as it once was, but it's out there, and we have relationships with many, many banks to try to help the franchisees get the capital that they need. We have a great team of support for franchisees. So you need someone, I would say, beyond the obvious facts of having the net worth and the capital and the business acumen, it's important to me, and it has been for my whole career, I need someone who loves the Arby's brand. Because, as people, listening, and as I'm sure you know, this is not an easy business. And I'm not talking about Arby's. I'm talking about, running multiple retail units. It's not easy. There's a lot of work there. And I, for one, cannot be associated with a brand that I don't love, that I don't love the product, and that I don't love what the brand stands for. And I think there's you need that emotional attachment as well as the business acumen if you really want to be wildly successful.
Well, that's well said. Maybe you could talk a little bit about the locations as far as, what does Arby's look for in a location, and does Arby's actually provide assistance to your new franchisees, Hala?
Yeah, definitely we provide assistance. We've got, a great real estate and construction team, and, we obviously sign off on all the packages because we want to make sure that the real estate that the franchisees are looking to acquire, makes sense for the brand, and we have all sorts of data that support, where they should be looking. Right now, our current focus in the last year or so has been on non-traditional sites. We are very fortunate to be partners with Pilot and Love's and Little Generals, places like that are travel plazas or C-stores that look for us to go in with them, and that has been a focus of ours. And sometimes these groups want to operate their own restaurants, and occasionally they will have a franchisee operate them. And we're also doing a lot of military bases and some of the just more non-traditional, because as I'm sure you and your listeners know, there's an awful lot of food competition out there and competition for sites. So we think that there's, more than one way to skin the cat with the Arby's brand. We're certainly building freestanding restaurants and are excited about it, but we're looking at more inlines, more non-traditional, and making sure we've got, different ways for people to grow.
I read something, too, somewhere, I think that Arby's, was considering even the gas stations, too, Hala. I always thought that was an interesting move for, a lot of the big-name franchises. And I wasn't sure how that was going to work originally, but it seems like those are pretty successful locations, aren't they? So is Arby's considering that as well?
Yeah, definitely. They can be very, very successful. And, that's what I mean when I say convenience stores, that do have gas. I call it C-stores. But anyway, convenience stores that do have gas. And, again, these travel plazas are very successful because, these people are experts at knowing where to build. They know their trucker consumer very well. And then if you are in a location that also serves that community, you've got a double audience. And so some of those are very successful. And to your point, a lot of other major brands are there as well. So we really appreciate and enjoy those relationships, again, with the Pilots of the world, the Loves, the Little Generals, and the chains that have expertise in this area.
Well said. What's the training like for your new franchisees, Hala? I understand it's pretty intense.
Yeah, we have a 6-week training program, and a bit of that is classroom, but the majority of it is in the restaurant, learning, how to run a restaurant. Because, again, I never try to act like running a restaurant is an easy thing, because I think there's a lot to consider. I mean, you've got, obviously, the basics of preparing the products safely and in a craveable, delicious manner for your guests. And then you've got the service component, which is incredibly important to keep people coming back, et cetera. But then you've got the whole back of the house, with the inventory, with the financials, and we like to try to start our franchisees off with a very good knowledge base of the food cost percentage they should be running, the labor percentage they should be running, vis-a-vis all of the benchmarking data that we have. So there's a lot of training that goes on, and in the end, it is, essential that the franchisee take that seriously and really get grounded. And then, of course, we have ongoing training. And then the thing that's the best thing that ever comes is that a franchisee later on can apply to become a training restaurant themselves. So that they can train others and they can train people within their multi-unit network. So, training is key. It's a big part of what we do, and great question.
It's interesting. Where's Arby's looking to expand, Hala? I mean, is it mostly here in the United States? Is it international, or?
It's both. I would say our primary focus is here in the States. We are in 48 states, and we have about 3,400 locations. So we've got a good national mix, but we are most heavily in the Midwest and sort of the Mid-Atlantic and the Southeast. So we've got some room to grow on the West Coast, and we'd like to add more restaurants out there. But at the same time, we have a 100-restaurant development agreement in Turkey, and those guys are building hand over fist. They are a fabulous group, and but we're being a little slower on our international growth because we just have so much opportunity here in the States.
Wow. What advice would you give to our listeners in their quest to buy a franchise, Hala? It's wonderful to have the opportunity to ask someone like yourself because you've been doing this for a while. So what would you say to them with all these different franchise opportunities out there? Where did they begin?
Well, as I said, and this is going to sound kind of soft, but I would start with a brand that you really do like the product, you like the brand, it's something you can believe in. It's sort of in a sense, kind of the Warren Buffett thing as well. It's like, pay attention to, what people like and what people really feel loyal to. I mean, think about the Arby's brand being around for almost 50 years. There's a lot of history there. It's an iconic brand. It's not like people are not going to know what it is. But, and so think of things in those terms, ask your neighbors and that kind of thing, but make sure that you like the brand and can be proud of the brand. And then, to your point, I would certainly look at the management team and the leadership team and the ownership, and that's one thing that makes me so, proud to be owned by Rourke because they've got an incredible reputation in building the brands that they've bought over time. And then, of course, goes without saying, you've got to really, study that FDD. You've got to understand the financials. You've got to be realistic about the amount of work that it takes. And, occasionally someone will think that it's easier than it is, and there's less work involved. So I like people who are hungry and eager and excited about the brand they're signing up with.
That's fantastic. And Arby's provides, I think it was an item 19 in the FDD too as well, don't they, Hala? With the financials, I should say.
Yes.
All the financial information, which I think is very important.
Yeah, we put in, what the law allows, so to speak, because, there are very strict laws about what you can put in and what you can't. So we put in, the maximum allowed. And then we, just like every other franchisor out there, I would assume, we encourage one to call current franchisees. and there's a list of the current franchisees, I believe, in the FDD, and so they can certainly talk to other franchisees who have more freedom to talk about financials than we do, because we have to be careful that we don't guarantee anybody anything, and you know that, and I think your listeners probably do too.
What's the best way for our listeners to get more information on becoming a franchisee and all the different services that Arby's provides? Is there one website they should go to, or is there several websites they should look into?
Yeah, Arby's.com is your best bet. Just simple, no apostrophe, just ARBYS.com. And there, you're going to get all sorts of things about the products and the fun stuff and the social media stuff we're doing. But there's a button on there to go in and dig deep on the franchise piece. So I would love it if everybody would look at that.
That's fantastic. I want to thank you again, Hala. It was a privilege to talk to you and have you on the show, and I'm going to continue following Arby's and following your career. You've had an amazing career.
Thank you so much. It was my privilege to be on your show, so thanks so much for having us.
Thanks so much, Hala. Have a great day, and we'll be right back with more franchise interviews.
Franchise Interviews. For over 6 years, Franchise Interviews has been giving an up-close, behind-the-scenes look at franchising and entrepreneurship through our website, Franchiseinterviews.com, where you can hear and read interviews as well as get tips from some of the most successful sources in franchising. Our weekly franchise radio show, where each week you get to hear a new interview with franchisers, franchisees, franchise authors, franchise experts, and attorneys. And don't forget to listen to our podcast, Great Quotes in Franchising. For more information, go to Franchiseinterviews.com or call us at 610-905-2919. That's 610-905-2919.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Great Quotes in Franchising, where each podcast you get to hear a great quote in franchising. We've been hosting franchise interviews now over 6 years and over 300 shows, and during that time we've had some incredible quotes on the show. Today you're going to get to hear from Ellen Dunn, who is a franchisee to the Wild Birds Unlimited franchise system. And frequently on the show we'll ask our guests, why franchising? Why did you go into franchising? And I thought Ellen's answer was really unique out of all the guests we've had in 6 years. She spoke about the importance of having relationships, and she even thinks of the franchisor and her fellow franchisees as friends. So I thought that was very clever. She also took an assessment of what maybe her possible weaknesses were and her strengths, and she says that the franchise can help her with things like advertising or marketing, which wasn't really in her background. So we're going to play that clip for you right now and enjoy this edition of Great Quotes in Franchising from Franchise Interviews. Here we go.
I left and started my own business. I always had a corporation behind me, right. And I knew that I needed someone that could offer me all the things that I didn't get from the corporate world. And after interviewing several other franchisees, I knew that WBU was where I was going to get all the things as a small business owner that from the corporate world that I couldn't get on my own, such as the HR and the marketing.
Right. So you were sold, or you were convinced on franchising right away, Ellen. You kind of knew that you wanted to be an entrepreneur, but franchising was probably the best alternative for your situation.
Correct, because I didn't have all the expertise for mainly the marketing, the advertising.
Sure.
Because I always had a corporation behind me at my other jobs, so I didn't know how to go about doing all those things on my own. And a franchise is the best way to get those items.
That's fantastic.
Did you know the category?
Really well. Did you know the category was going to be retail, Ellen? I mean, there's 80 different industries, a Wild Birds Unlimited franchisee.
Well, that was one of the things I was nervous the most about going out on my own was missing relationship building, because again, coming from very large corporations, I was worried about not having friends.
Sure.
I must say,
that's interesting.
I have tons of friends. All the different store owners, building the relationships with all the store owners here in New England and across the United States. I just have lots of relationships, and the relationships at the Franchise Support Center. I can pick up the phone at any time and call any number of people to talk to and bounce off, crazy ideas that I might be coming up with, and they'll either laugh with me or think that it's a great idea or tell me I'm out of my mind. And it's just been a wonderful support group. And there are people to talk to when you need those different supports, whether it's crisis management or whether it's just somebody to talk to. There's always somebody around that you can talk to or go out and spend an evening with. There's always somebody there to do that. And I really didn't think I was going to have that support group anymore.
It sounds like it's the culture, too, at Wild Birds Unlimited that you enjoy, too, Ellen. And listening to, I've never, in the 6 years of doing that show, I like how you mentioned, use the word friends, which I think is very powerful, the relationship with franchisees and also the relationship with the franchisor. I think that's very powerful what you said. So I think that's fantastic, and it sounds like, as you said, there's always someone to talk to, and you wouldn't get that if you did this on your own, would you? If you called it, Ellen's Birds Unlimited, I guess it would be a lot more lonely experience.
Right. Yeah, and they are my friends. I mean, Paul is right up there, and I'm just not saying that. Paul's up there, and I mean, any number of them. I mean, I look at them all as my friends, and whenever I think of coming to the end of this relationship at some point, to me it's going to be incredibly sad because they're all my friends, and I value all their friendship and I value their knowledge. They have great ideas. I don't always agree with their ideas, and I don't. And they always go along with that, and they accept when you don't agree with them. I don't know. They don't always like it, but and they always accept the criticism. And I think sometimes they let you go away on your own, and whether it works or whether it doesn't work, that's accepted, which is good to know.
Thanks everyone for listening, and we'll see you again soon with another edition of Great Quotes in Franchising from Franchise Interviews. Take care, everyone.